guys, it's Kira and welcome to Vlogmas day 12, which makes this the penultimate Christmas vlog because we are now on Wednesday, the 22nd of December. So there are only 3 days left until the big day itself. So it's very, very soon, and I for one am extremely excited about Christmas. I feel like it's just snuck up on us, it's already here. And the month has gone so quickly, but I'm very, very excited about it. But with my Christmas excitement in mind, I am going to dedicate the next couple of days to trying to tackle a top to bottom clean of the house. Mostly just because I feel like it's nice to be fresh and clean and tidy for Christmas, because you always end up with way more clutter after Christmas Day because obviously you've got presents and loads of things going on. So I feel like it's nice to kind of like tidy everything in advance so that the additional clutter doesn't make the house unbearable, because I for one cannot relax when there is like a ton of mess around. So I'm gonna try and tackle a clean. I also have my family coming round for like food and games on Christmas Eve, so it would be nice to have everything tidy before then. So rather than doing it all in like one big sweep, I think what I'm going to do is just start today and get everything at like a nice base level of cleanliness, so then when it comes around to Christmas Eve morning before everyone comes around, I can just tidy up the last little bits without it being too stressful. So that is the plan for this morning. I promise the rest of the vlog will be more exciting than cleaning, but has to be done, and I've already made a start by just like putting away some food and stuff. The Christmas jam pyramid is here to stay. It is a thing of beauty, but aside from that, I'm just going to try and tidy up all the clutter away from the sides, do some washing up, hoover downstairs, clean the bathroom, hoover upstairs. I hate hoovering upstairs because the carpet just takes so long to hoover. And then I think tomorrow or Friday I might mop. This is so boring, but it's what I'm going to be doing this morning, so there we have it. But then after all the cleaning is done, then I'm going to dive into the more exciting thing of finishing off the book that I'm currently reading, which is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I'm currently just over 200 pages in, and this book has a little over 300 pages, so I'm hoping to finish this one today, and after that I'll be starting a Christmas romance because 'tis the season and all that jazz. And finally, and probably most excitingly for me at least, I'm planning to do some Christmas baking over the next couple of days. Whether or not I have time to start any today, I'm not quite sure, but definitely going to be baking some gingerbread. I have quite a cute design in mind for my gingerbreads because I actually don't have a gingerbread man cutter. I think I left all of my festive cutters at Jay's parents' house when we moved, because obviously it wasn't Christmas time, so it wasn't even on my radar to bring them. And now I don't have any festive cutters, and Tesco this morning when me and Jay went in didn't have any either. So I'm going to have to be a bit creative and try and create something that still looks really cute, and I have a nice idea in mind but don't want to say in case I fail. So that is one festive bake that I'm going to be planning. The next one isn't necessarily a festive bake, but is something I'm very excited about because I'm going to be trying to make vegan puff pastry from scratch. So like the proper folding the butter into the pastry, letting it rest, and hopefully I'm going to end up with a beautiful puff pastry that I can make some croissants with, because I would love to be able to do that from scratch. I feel like that seems so accomplished in terms of baking skills. But because puff pastry is kind of like a labour of love, I think I might start that one today because it has to rest and be turned quite a few times, and then actually make the croissants tomorrow if all goes to plan. So that is what's on my agenda for the next couple of days. I'm gonna get started on cleaning, but I think I might need a cup of tea to power me through the cleaning process. So without further ado, what's behind door number 22? It'd help if I could actually get it out, wouldn't it? Oh, Jesus Christ. Ooh, whoa, there's so many words there. Dark chocolate chili chai. Interesting. So, dark chocolate I like, chai we know I like, but chili I don't like so much. So this could be quite a difficult one to get right for me, and I think the key to chili chocolates and chili teas for me is to not leave the chilliness in for too long. So I'm probably going to have like quite like a dunk and remove tea bag situation, whereas normally I leave the tea bag in, and I think that will be the key to making sure that I enjoy it without overpowering myself with hot spicy chili. So dubious about this one, I'm not gonna lie, but we'll give it a try and see what happens. smells very chocolatey, and I'm interested to see how chocolatey it tastes because there have been a couple of bird and blend teas that have had chocolate in. I think there was like a candy cane chocolate one. Bless you. Yeah, there was like a cocoa pepperminty one, and then there was another one with mint in as well, with chocolate, I think. Someone's sneezy today. What I'm trying to say is that there have been a few flavours that have included chocolate, and I've always found that the chocolate has not been that strong of a flavour at the beginning of the tea, and then towards the end it's like the chocolate flavour settles in a little bit more. So I'm interested to know how chocolatey this one tastes, given how chocolatey it smells. So this is going to be very hot because I literally just poured it, but RIP to my tongue. It does have a definite chocolatey flavour, although I'm very much convinced that it will continue to get stronger like the further down the tea I get. I don't know if like the heat of tea kind of like strangles the chocolate flavour a little bit, and then as it cools down you can like notice the flavour profile a bit more. But yeah, that's really nice. It's just like a slightly spicy chocolatey tea blend, and I'm not really picking up too much chilli, so I think I made the right decision in taking the tea bag out sooner. I'm just a total spice wimp, so that's who I am, and I don't like spicy things. But if you do, then that might be like an ideal tea for you. But if you don't like spicy tea, then just do what I did and leave it in for like 10-15 seconds max, and you're all good. Right, well, I've got my tea to keep me company. I'm going to put on some music and get on with tidying the kitchen. I think I'm going to start with washing up. Several hours later, I'm done cleaning, finally. It's one of those jobs that I do actually quite enjoy cleaning because it feels very satisfying when everything's done. But once you get started and then you realise how much more you still have left to do, it does feel like one of those never-ending tasks. But I've done it. It's now like 1:30 in the afternoon, so I've really been going at this for so many hours now. But it's done and it's a relief. The only thing I have left to do before Christmas now is to mop the floors in the kitchen and the living room behind me, and I've not done that today, mostly just because I want them to be nice and fresh, and I use Zoflora, which smells so incredible, but I'd quite like it to smell nice and fresh when everyone comes around on Christmas Eve. So I'm gonna wait and mop the floors first thing on Christmas Eve morning, just so that it's all nice and fresh and there's no risk of messing them up again before people turn up. So that's the one and only cleaning job I still have left to do, but literally everything else is done. So now for the next 2 days, it's just gonna be a case of trying to keep on top of any clutter and stop things from getting any messier than they already are. So relief, happiness, joy, Christmas miracles, that's what I'm feeling right now because the house is clean and I love it. So that was my morning, not the most exciting or festive, but one of those jobs that just needed to be done. And now I'm about ready to start some baking, which is kind of ironic because I literally just cleaned up all the mess and now I'm about to make another mess. But I actually don't have any vegan butter in the house. Well, I have one vegan butter in the house that is very specifically going to be used for the puff pastry, but I don't have any like soft vegan butter that I would like to use in the gingerbread, so I need to quickly run out to the shops and grab that, and then I'll be making gingerbread. Gingerbreads are out of the oven, but I'm going to try and not make the mistake that I usually make, which is icing them immediately, because that will not be ideal for the vision I have for my gingerbread. So I'm going to leave them at home to cool, and then Jay has just gotten home, so we're going to go out for a little walk together, and then when we get back, it'll probably be dark, but it will be time to decorate the gingerbread. Sorry, who am I awake at nearly 10 p.m? Just letting that sink in for a second, because for the last several weeks it's been 8 p.m. bedtimes every single day for me, and I'm here awake at nearly 10 p.m. That's just unheard of. The reason for my late night, to anyone else, this is just like a normal evening, but for me, this feels quite late, and the reason for that is because I was just on a Skype call with Lucy, Mary, Emma and Carolyn, who are my co-hosts for the Dark Academics Book Club. We were just having a pre-Christmas catch-up, which was really, really lovely, but it ended up being a little bit later on than we normally would, just because of like time zone differences and people's work schedules and all of that jazz. But it was so lovely to catch up with them all, because it's been way too long since we've all gotten together for a chat, so that was lovely. And yeah, that's taken me up to nearly 10 p.m. So I have personally had a really, really wonderful day. Certainly a very productive one. I feel like having done all of the tidying for the house feels like such a nice thing to have achieved. And then also made my gingerbread, which was very delicious. My decorating wasn't quite as finessed as I expected. I think I've seen one too many TikTok videos of those people who like ice their cookies perfectly and they just look so easy to do, and then I didn't really have any of the correct equipment, so when I went to go and do it myself, I think I had overestimated how easy it would be and what they would look like. So I did a few in my original planned design, which was to make the little bears, which I do think they look quite kind of cute, but also kind of like a child made them. And then I also used some of the chocolate icing and the like strawberry icing that I'd made to do like a marbled effect, and I think those ones are my favourite because they actually look quite nice. So it was fun to do some baking. I didn't end up getting on with any of the puff pastry, so that'll have to be a job for tomorrow. But there's no rush. I'm not making it for any one thing in particular. I just want to try it out, and I figured the Christmas holidays would be a great time to try it out, so I can definitely get on with that tomorrow. But I think I am going to head to bed in just a moment, but before I do, let's talk about this book because I still haven't finished it. I am a little bit further on than I was earlier. I'm now on page 261, so the end is getting closer, but I'm still not quite there. I've still got a little bit left to go, and I have no idea what is going to happen, which I suppose is good because it certainly keeps me interested. I have enjoyed certain aspects of this book, and there are certain characters, predominantly like Elizabeth is my favourite character because she's just so like cheeky and confident and just like goes out and does whatever she wants. Equally, I also quite like Joyce because she is of a certain age where she's like, I don't care what I do, I'm just gonna have fun and do whatever I want because I'm old and it doesn't matter. So those two characters I really enjoy, and there is a quote that I'll share in a minute which I think summarises the essence that they bring to the book and what makes it so fun. But in terms of the rest of the novel, there just feels something lacking for me, and it's one of those things that I can't quite put my finger on exactly what is missing, but I'm just not completely invested in the novel. However, I'm obviously going to finish it and I want to know what happens. It's just one of those ones where I just feel like it's not quite the sort of book that I love, and I can enjoy it and there are bits that I like, but it's just not the book for me. And I felt that's very vague because it is just down to like a gut feeling. There's nothing in particular that I'm like, yeah, that's what's wrong with the book, but equally, yeah, it's just not quite there for me. So with that said though, the quote that I did want to share, and I thought was quite a fun one, says, "There was a jolly atmosphere and I can understand the reasons why. We each of us understand we're in a gang and we understand we are in the middle of something unusual. We understand also, I think, that we are doing something illegal. But we are past the age of caring. Perhaps we are raging against the dying of light, but that is poetry, not life. There will be other reasons I have missed out, but I know on the walk back down the hill we felt giddy, like teenagers out too late." And I just feel like that summarises the best part of this book, which is basically a load of old people just like doing things that they shouldn't be doing and not really caring and pushing the boundaries because they're older and they can, basically. And I feel like that makes a really fun basis for the book, and I am definitely excited to see where it goes, but I just feel like it's not going to be a favourite for me because there's just something missing. So that's where I'm at right now with this book, and although I ended up having quite a busy day today with cleaning and whatnot, tomorrow should be a little bit quieter, so I'm definitely planning to finish that book tomorrow. She has said this for the last several days, but I'm promising that it's going to happen tomorrow 100% because I really do want to get it done before Christmas. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and go and get as much sleep as I can before getting started on a new day tomorrow, so I'll catch up with you then. Christmas Eve. Oh my god, how exciting. I have started the morning in the most wonderful way. For the first time in ages, or at least what feels like ages, I was able to just sit down after we got back from the gym and get on with reading. It's probably only been a few days since I last did that, but I think this book in particular is one that I've struggled to find time for, and I've ended up doing most of my reading in evening time, which is when I feel the least productive in terms of reading because I get tired so easily and only make it through a few chapters. So I feel like this book in particular, I feel like I haven't had many opportunities to properly just like sit down and fully immerse myself in it, but this morning I've done that and I'm really enjoying the section that I'm currently in, and I'm only about 30 pages from the end of the book now. So things are starting to like heat up, and we're sort of getting to the point where you know that the reveal is coming and we're going to start to figure out who has committed the crime. And this is a book where there are lots of different layers, and it has surprised me on quite a few occasions as like different elements of characters and their histories are getting revealed. And I do think that's something that's quite nice about having a cast of characters who is predominantly of like a much older age range than books I typically read, because we know them in their current present state and who they have evolved into throughout their life, but then we also get to hear like little snippets of who they were previously and almost get like their past selves and sort of see like all of the different experiences they've had and how that's led them to the person that they are in the novel right now. And that is something that is quite nice to sort of see that like full evolution of a character, but kind of in retrospect, and I'm really enjoying that part. As I've mentioned, I do really like the cheeky, mischievous, like playful nature of some of the older characters and the fact that they are so brazen and confident because of their age, and I'm really enjoying seeing them kind of take charge of the murder mystery while the police are kind of like in the background, not actually spotting all of the signs that the old people are seeing first. So I'm really enjoying that part. And like I say, I think potentially my lack of, I don't want to say lack of enjoyment because, excuse me, noisy. I don't want to say lack of enjoyment because I have enjoyed the book, but as I was saying last night before bed, I felt like something was kind of missing, and I think partially the thing that has been missing for me is a connection with the characters, which partially might just be down to the book and feeling as though I'm just not like gelling with them completely, but I also think it might partially be down to the fact that I've been reading it in quite short segments and sort of like reading a couple of chapters every evening and sort of dipping in and out, whereas like this morning, having had the chance to sit down and read quite a few chapters all in one go and kind of blast through a good section of the book, I feel like I've immediately warmed up to the novel a lot more and it's becoming a lot better. Another point might be the fact that in murder mysteries, sometimes I find that they can take a little while to get to the point, and I always end up loving the big reveal at the end, but sometimes the like lead up to that can feel a bit of a slog. So there's a multitude of factors that sort of will make up the experience of this novel, but what I can say is that I'm enjoying it at this present time. Gatsby, I'm serious, that's so rude. And I'm definitely planning to finish it as soon as I get back from my activities of the morning. So what I have on the agenda this morning is that Jay and I are heading into town to go and get Gatsby and Oscar some presents, although given how much noise little Gatsby's making right now, I'm wondering if he's on the naughty list. Think about that, mister. But for real, we're gonna go get them some Christmas presents. Gatsby will be getting some nice little rabbit treats because he loves a little snack, and then Oscar, we're gonna get some like toys. There are rabbit toys, but Gatsby never likes them, so we're going to get him food, and then Oscar is a really fussy eater, so we're going to get him toys instead of food. So that's on the agenda for this morning, heading into town to do a little bit of last minute Christmas shopping for the pets, then back to finish off this book and also hopefully to make my vegan puff pastry. Now because it's quite early, it's currently about 8:30 in the morning, and Jay and I are heading out into town right now so that we get in, hopefully, fingers crossed, before the crowds. I'm actually not opening my tea calendar until we get back, so that is something to look forward to as well. So I'm heading out and I'll catch up with you when we're back. Back from a successful shopping trip, we managed to get something for each of the animals, although I will say cat toys are so ugly. Like they were all such like garish colours and like fluffy and disgusting, and I did not want to buy any of them. However, what we settled on was quite a fun one. It's a little mouse toy, but you pull the tail and then it vibrates. I think me and Jay are probably going to find this more amusing than Oscar is, but we mainly wanted something that he could play with on his own because I work from home, so he's very rarely on his own and there's always someone around to play with him and keep him company. But we wanted something for the very rare occasions when he is on his own, and we thought this would be good because he could play with it on his own or with someone else. But yeah, so we got that for Oscar, and we also got Gatsby something quite fun, which is an edible tunnel that he can go in, because Gatsby loves to go inside things, but this one is great because he can eat it. You might see often in the background of like the living room there's always cardboard boxes on the floor, and that's because Gatsby loves to sit in them, but also he loves to eat them. So we thought that that would suit him and his fun desires to go inside something that he can also eat at the exact same time. It's like a real life gingerbread house for a rabbit. So that's what we got the animals. And then I also picked up some mince pies from M&S, and also something that I haven't seen before. I've never tried a vegan or non-vegan version of this, but it sounded tasty. So I got some oat brandy sauce, which I think is meant to be like brandy butter, and the ingredients are oats, brandy, sugar, vanilla, and then a few like thickening agents, and it sounds like it's just going to be like an infused cream, which I think will be very delicious, and I can have that on a warmed up mince pie. So all in all, it was a successful trip to town, and I think that we mostly have all of our food for Christmas now. My brother and I are going to go to M&S tomorrow morning just to pick up a few last minute bits for Christmas Eve lunchtime, but that is it. So I'm very happy to be done with shopping once and for all. But now that I'm back, I'm very much ready for a cup of tea and some breakfast. So let's get on with the calendars. Bird and blend time. And we are now all the way on to door number 23, which is right here. Ooh, Jesus. Zesty Bucks Fizz bubbles with gold sparkles. Very nice. I love a Bucks Fizz on Christmas morning, although I always think of Bucks Fizz as being, you know, like a sort of like cold bubbly drink. So it'll be interesting to see what it is like in tea. So we'll have to just give that a try and see what it's like, but I'm intrigued to say the least. And then as well as my tea, I'm also gonna have some crumpets with some jam, that's the word I'm looking for, and my jam advent calendar, which is now feeling significantly lighter than it did at the beginning of the month on account of the fact that all of these have come out of it. I actually have 2 jams to open because I didn't open this calendar yesterday, so we have 22 and 23. Where is 22? Always so hard to find. Oh, there we go, right there. Okay, so from 22 we have cherries and fleur de sureau, whatever that is. Let's Google it. Google Translate. Fleur de sureau. Elderflower. Oh, I love elderflower. Cherry and elderflower. That I think will be really tasty. So that is jam number 1, and then 23 is right here. Oranges a la cannelle. Is that a place maybe? Oh wow, cannelle is cinnamon, so we have orange and cinnamon. I think I'm gonna love this. That sounds delightful. Yum. Okay, got a very fruity little selection going on with my cherries, my oranges, and my Bucks Fizz tea. So let's go ahead and make all of that, and of course I'll be back for a taste test. gonna lie, I'm quite hesitant about this Bucks Fizz tea. It doesn't smell orangey in the slightest, and that is, you know, what Bucks Fizz is predominantly made out of. It's orange juice, so I'm like not really sure what to expect. It's also pink in colour, which has surprised me because again I was expecting more of an orangey vibe, and yeah, I don't know, I'm just not getting a great smell from it, which is making me less optimistic about the taste. But of course there's only one way to find out, and that is to actually taste it. So without further ado, that's so hot. Oh, burnt my tongue, burnt my tongue. It's like, it tastes like a very, very, very watered down orange juice. Bit disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. It's not terrible or anything like that. It's not got an unpleasant taste. It just doesn't really have much of a taste at all, which is one of the most disappointing things about tea. So yeah, wouldn't recommend this one just because it's bland basically. And we know I love a more powerfully flavoured tea, but let's hope the jam can bring it back. So we have orange and cinnamon and then cherry and elderflower. So let's get started with orange and cinnamon because I'm most excited about this one. It's like it was made for me. Wow. That has been crafted by the gods, I swear. That is incredible. So fruity, and then just this layer of warmth coming from the cinnamon. Oh, amazing. I love it. Okay, now on to cherries and elderflower. It is nice, but what I will say is there have been a few cherry jams. I think the flavour of cherry is such a strong one that the other flavours, like the flowers that are in there, don't really come through because the cherry kind of overpowers them, which I don't mind because I think the cherry is delicious, but it does just mean I'm not really picking up any of the elderflower. But on the whole, 2 delicious jams, 1 average tea, and I'm about to go and finish reading The Birthday Murder Club. Well, my afternoon is going very well, starting with the fact that I just finished up reading The Thursday Murder Club, which was, on the whole, a fairly enjoyable reading experience. I ended up rating it 3 stars because I neither loved nor hated this book. It was just an okay read for me, and I feel like it did feel quite like a long book for me, possibly because I've been reading a lot of books that I've been managing to get through in like 1 or 2 days throughout December. So this one, although I've only been reading it for about a week, did just feel like it took me so much longer to get through than some of the other books I've read recently. So I wasn't feeling as motivated to pick it up, and I feel like 3 stars reflects the fact that I didn't dislike the book, but I also wasn't obsessed with it, and I don't think it's a read that's really going to stay with me now that I'm done with it. There were a couple of characters that I thought were really interesting, and I liked reading about them, especially Elizabeth. I thought she was quite a funny character, and she was definitely the ringleader of the Thursday Murder Club. But aside from those couple of characters like Elizabeth and Joyce, I felt like the characters throughout the rest of the book were just a little bit flat, and I didn't feel super connected to them, and so by extension I didn't feel super invested in the rest of the novel. I was certainly interested to see where it went and how the murder was resolved, but I think the ending in particular just felt a little bit flat, and it also felt as though it was definitely leading on to continuing the narrative in a sequel, which I know has happened because there is now a second book in this series that has been released. But I just personally hate when a book that I didn't love kind of has like a bit of an open ending, and you can tell that it's just being set up for a follow-up novel, which I think I would love if it was a book that I was really invested in. But in the case of books like this where I was like, I'm kind of all right with it, but I'm not probably going to continue on with the series, I find it irritating when there's an open ending. But it wasn't bad. I feel like I'm judging it quite harshly because I've read some really great books this month, so by comparison again, it just doesn't seem quite as good. But I also am disappointed because I love Richard Osman so much, and so I had really high hopes for this one, but it didn't quite live up to it for me. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible either. I gave it 3 stars, and it's done, and that is the main thing. So that is one thing that has gone well this afternoon. I've ticked that book off my TBR. The second thing that is going well, I suppose I can't call it a proper success yet, is my vegan puff pastry that is currently resting in the fridge. It's not actually that complicated of a process, which I was pleased to find out because I had always thought of puff pastry as being really, really complicated. And while I suppose it does require like a certain level of skill, actually is more so just a commitment in terms of time, because you basically have to make your pastry, roll out a slab of butter, and then like fold that into the pastry, and then you just basically are in a process of rolling, folding, resting in the fridge, rolling, folding, resting in the fridge, over and over again until you've got all these nice layers. So I'm currently in the middle of that process right now, and it's resting in the fridge, but seems to be going well, so I've got high hopes that I might actually have proper vegan puff pastry to make some croissants with later on this afternoon. So that's what I'm going to get back to now, and once I've got a little bit of a break, I think I'll start on my reread of, well, continue with my reread of An Island Christmas by Jenny Colgan. I do want to read The Merry Christmas Project as well over the next couple of days, but seeing as I'm already partway through An Island Christmas, I do kind of want to get that done before the big day itself, so I think I'll prioritise that one first. And other great news, my friend Sarah is coming around this afternoon, and we're going to go out for a walk and a coffee before Christmas, so lots to look forward to. But now I'm going to go back to my pastry, roll it out, and hope for the best that we end up with some good vegan puff pastry. So the good news is the tiny croissants look very cute. The bad news is my puff pastry didn't puff, which is kind of the main purpose of puff pastry. So I do think I know where it went wrong, and I think it was a temperature thing in the room. So obviously the pastry is going in and out of the fridge all the time, but then when it came to rolling it out and shaping them, I think it just got a little bit too warm, probably from my hands, the fact that the oven was preheating and warming the room up, the radiators are on, and the butter just started melting before it even got in the oven, and I think that then meant that the butter just continued to melt out rather than puffing the pastry up as it's supposed to do. So a little bit disappointing. It does look look kind of more like a short crust pastry than a puff pastry, but I'm sure it'll still taste nice. I'm going to do a taste test in just a second, but I am determined to keep trying vegan puff pastry, and that might be my little like Christmas holiday project, because I do think it's possible, but I just need to figure out the logistics and maybe just like do a bit more research on the science behind puff pastry, because temperature is one thing, but I also think that vegan butter has a higher water content than regular butter, and I didn't really account for that today, but that might affect the like baking process as well, because it isn't quite as like pure of a fat source as like a dairy butter would be. So I think I just need to do a bit more research and see what it's all about basically, but I do think it's possible. Just need to figure it out, and once I do, I'm going to be making pastry all the time. So gonna give this one a try. It's just a plain croissant and see what it's like. That tastes really nice and buttery, and actually it's not as short crusty as I thought. It does have a bit more of a puff pastry feel to it, and I can see there is some lamination in the dough, but I also can see that there's like a denser bit that has maybe just become a bit more saturated with oil. So it's not a complete failure. They're definitely edible, but there's just work to be done. But to be honest, I'm quite happy about that. It's quite fun sometimes to like try out different recipes and variations of ingredients and eventually find the one that works. So I'm just gonna make a note of what I did this time, then try again next time with a little bit of a different process and see if it works. Nice and crumbly. Very delicious. Like, it is really tasty. I also made, or attempted to make, some mini pain au chocolat. I also made some coconut and almond pastry crescents. And then finally, with some offcuts of pastry, I made some jammy turnovers. So I've got lots of delicious pastry to eat, and it is very tasty, which I'm glad of, but it just didn't quite have the puffing up look that I was hoping for, and therefore it's a little bit denser than I would have been liking. So we've got work to do, but not too shabby for a first ever attempt at puff pastry. So that's what I'm dealing with, and it was fun. I enjoy trying out new recipes, so that was a fun way to spend my afternoon. I'm now gonna kickstart my reread, or catch up with my reread of An Island Christmas by Jenny Colgan, whilst I wait for Sarah to come round, because she should be round in maybe the next like half an hour to an hour. Oh, it is nice. My goodness, this afternoon, or should I say this evening, has just completely flown away with me. It's currently now 9:30 in the evening, so another late night for me, but I have had the most wonderful afternoon. It's really gotten me in the festive spirit. Not that I wasn't in the festive spirit already, but now I really feel like it is Christmas because it just felt like such a nice, cozy, celebratory afternoon with Sarah. We obviously did our Christmas dinner together last week, so today was just like a fun get together. But we went into town, Sarah did a little bit of shopping, I just tagged along for the ride because, as I said earlier, I am completely done with Christmas shopping. But then we dropped into a cafe restaurant-y place. I'm not really sure exactly what it is because we kind of got a bit of a random selection. We both got oat milk peppermint mochas with vegan whipped cream on top, which were delicious, but then we got that with a sharing bowl of vegan nachos, which those are two things that you wouldn't normally put together, a bit of a random combination, but both were equally delicious in their own right. I haven't had nachos in ages, but they were really, really good. So that was a lot of fun and also meant I didn't have to think about cooking any dinner because they were huge. Like, it was the biggest portion of nachos I've ever seen. It's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but it was a really big bowl, so I didn't fancy any dinner when I got home. And then me and Sarah just had a cup of tea, chatted, had a great time. She tried one or two of my puff pastry things, and she definitely confirmed or affirmed for me that they tasted really good and actually didn't have too bad of a texture. So it's just figuring out how to make them poof that we really need to figure out because, you know, the puff and puff pastry is an important element, but at least the flavour and the texture is down. So we've got like 2 of the 3 elements that we need. So that is definitely something I can work on. And then once Sarah headed off home, I got right back into another cup of tea and an island Christmas, which I've just finished up. I really do love returning to Jenny Colgan's little world of the Isle of Muir because it is just such a cosy and wonderful, comforting location to return back to every Christmas. I feel like I've been alternating each year, so I read this for the first time 2 years ago, then last year I read the sequel, which is Christmas at the Island Hotel, and then this year I decided to go back again to an Island Christmas, and next year I'm sure I'll get back into the Island Hotel. So it's really nice to kind of like alternate between the 2 each year and just dive back into the world and the characters, who are all just so lovely and so like welcoming. I just feel like the community spirit of this book just makes it such a like wholesome reading experience, and I always liken it to Gilmore Girls in the way that it makes me feel, because I feel like the community is very Stars Hollows-esque. It's got like that tight-knit vibe, but there is a little bit of friction between certain characters and there are some like big personalities, and I just think it really has that like vibe of somewhere like Stars Hollow that is in one sense idyllic, but then also just has its own like pizzazz, and it's not like a boring sort of village location. It's a location that has a lot of personality, and I personally really like that. I also love that this book simultaneously makes you feel happy and fuzzy and wholesome, but also really makes you think about some like real world issues. So in this one we have a character who is terminally ill, and so there is like the discussion of grief before you've actually started to really grieve. So in the sense that the character is still alive, but everyone around them is slowly having to come to terms with the loss of who the person once was, and also the knowledge that they will eventually pass away. And so it's like this evolution of grief and this like preparation that the characters are going through in sort of like a premature feeling of having lost someone, even though technically they're not gone yet. So that permeates the entire novel, and I think because it is part of the entire story and you see like this build up to the loss of the character, you just get this real feeling for like how much grief impacts a person's life and like how it can sort of impact every single facet of your existence. So that is a really powerful part of the novel. And then of course, as I've mentioned in other vlogs before, there is also a main character who is a Syrian refugee. He's a doctor on the island, and he is there with his 2 young children, but his wife is still missing, and there is the discussion of his sort of trying to move on and make a new life, but also again grieving for what he has lost and what he doesn't know, because he doesn't know if his wife is dead or alive or where she might be. And it's just a really like bittersweet narrative in the sense that he is safe and his children are healthy and happy, but he has also been through such a traumatic experience and he's sort of torn between these 2 worlds. So it manages to have this incredible Christmas story that is wholesome and fun and has these incredible characters going through just a wonderful festive time, but it throws in some things that really make you think, and I love that. So Very glad to have been able to finish this one before Christmas. Haven't had a chance to get started on my next read, but who knows, I might be able to do a little bit of reading tomorrow on Christmas Eve itself. But with that, I will be bringing Vlogmas number 12 to an end, and when I see you tomorrow, it will be Christmas Eve. But actually, when you see Christmas Eve, Christmas will already be over. So I hope you enjoyed this vlog, because this is the last one that will be live before Christmas, and then the next one you see will be Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and that will be coming out on Boxing Day. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.